The year is 1918. The Great War is in its final, brutal throes. On the Western Front, a massive retreat is underway. Thousands of Allied soldiers are pulling back, a slow, agonizing crawl away from the enemy's relentless advance. For them, every step is a prayer, a desperate hope for survival. But for their retreat to be possible, a handful of men must stay behind. They are the rear guard, the lonely sentinels tasked with holding the line against impossible odds. This is the story of one of them. His name was Thomas. Just Thomas. In the mud and chaos of the trenches, surnames felt like a luxury from another life. He was young, barely 20, with eyes that had seen far too much. He volunteered for the rear guard. Some called him brave, others a fool. Thomas didn't see it either way. He just saw his friends, his brothers in arms, their exhausted faces etched with fear and fatigue. If his staying behind meant even one of them made it home, it was a price he was willing to pay. His post was a shattered farmhouse on the edge of a field, a place the locals once called La Chant des Oiseaux, the song of the birds. Now, the only songs were the whistle of shells and the chatter of machine guns. He had a Lewis gun, several crates of ammunition, a few grenades, and a dwindling supply of water and hardtack biscuits. His orders were simple: hold this position for as long as possible. Delay the enemy, no matter the cost. The first hours were the worst. The silence, the emptiness left by his departing comrades, was a physical weight. Every rustle of the wind sounded like approaching footsteps. Every shadow seemed to move. He watched through a crack in the stone wall as the last of his company disappeared over the ridge. He was truly alone, a tiny island in a sea of impending violence. He checked his Lewis gun for the 10th time, his hands moving with a practiced calm that betrayed the frantic beating of his heart. He thought of home, of a small village in the English countryside, of his mother's smile and the smell of rain on dry earth. These memories were his shield, his final defense against the encroaching darkness. Then they came, first as distant figures, gray ghosts emerging from the morning mist. They moved cautiously, fanning out across the field. Thomas held his breath, his finger resting lightly on the trigger. He let them get closer, closer still. His training officer's voice echoed in his mind. Make every bullet count, son. Make them pay for every inch of ground. The enemy soldiers were barely 100 yards away now. He could see their faces, young men just like him, caught in the same meat grinder of war. For a fleeting second, he felt a pang of something other than fear or hate, but it was gone as quickly as it came. He was a soldier. They were the enemy. He pulled the trigger. The Lewis gun roared to life, spitting fire and death into the advancing line. The surprise was total. Figures dropped. Others scrambled for cover. The morning air was filled with shouts and the return crackle of rifles. Thomas didn't stop. His key traversed the gun, sweeping the field, forcing them back. He was a one-man army, a phantom in the ruins, his presence sowing confusion and chaos. They didn't know it was just him. They thought they'd stumbled into a fortified machine gun nest, a whole platoon lying in wait. The first assault was repulsed. Airy quiet fell once more over the field, broken only by the groans of the wounded. Thomas's ears were ringing. His shoulder ached from the gun's recoil. He reloaded, his hands trembling slightly. He had bought time, minutes, maybe an hour. That was all that mattered. Took a sip of his precious water, the metallic taste coating his dry tongue. He knew they would come again, this time with more men, more firepower. They knew where he was now. The second attack was fiercer. Mortar began to fall, turning the farmhouse into a crumbling death trap. Chunks of stone and plaster rained down around him. A shell exploded nearby, throwing him across the room. For a moment, the world went black. He came to, his head throbbing, a sharp pain in his sides. Dust and smoke filled his lungs, making him cough violently. Through the haze, He saw them advancing again, more determined this time. He crawled back to his gun. His vision was blurry, but his hands found their place. He fired again, short, controlled bursts, this time conserving ammunition. He had to make it last. He was no longer just delaying them. He was fighting for every breath. Days blurred into a nightmare of noise, fear, and exhaustion. He lost track of time. He fought during the day and stayed awake at night, listening, waiting. Sleep came in snatched, feverish minutes, filled with visions of home in the faces of the men he'd shot. He talked to himself, to the birds that dared to land on the shattered roof, to the ghosts of the family who once lived in this house. He was hungry, he was hurt, but he was not broken. He remembered why he was here. Every moment he held on. His friends were a moment further away, a moment closer to safety. Their survival was his victory. Atia, he was down to his last few pans of ammunition. His body was a tapestry of cuts and bruises. The wound in his side was getting worse. He knew the end was near. The enemy was gathering for a final push. He could hear the rumble of an armored car. He knew he wouldn't survive this. A strange sense of calm settled over him. He had done his job. He had held the line. Took out a worn photograph from his tunic pocket, a picture of his family. He looked at their smiling faces one last time, whispered a goodbye, and placed it back over his heart. He propped himself against the wall, the Lewis gun steady in his hands. He took a deep breath, the air thick with the smell of cordite and earth. Through the largest hole in the wall, he watched them come, a wave of gray, relentless and overwhelming. He smiled, a faint, weary smile. He was not a hero. He was not a fool. He was a soldier named Thomas in a shattered farmhouse at the edge of no man's land, and he was ready. He waited for them to get close, for that perfect moment. Then, with the last of his strength, he pulled the trigger, and his gun sang its final, defiant song. Thomas's stand did not win the war. It was not a grand, celebrated victory that will be written about in history books. It was a small, desperate act of courage in a war filled with them. But it mattered. It bought precious hours for hundreds of men to escape, to live, to one day go home. Men who would become fathers and grandfathers, who would tell stories of the Great War, and who would, perhaps, sometimes think of the nameless boy in the ruined farmhouse who made it all possible. His sacrifice, like countless others, was a single thread in the vast, tragic tapestry of war, a testament to the incredible resilience and bravery of the human spirit in its darkest hour. Thank you for watching. The stories of these rearguard soldiers are a powerful reminder of the hidden sacrifices made in times of conflict. If you found this story moving, please like, subscribe, and share. Every story remembered is a hero honored. We'll see you in the next one.